Hello and welcome to another Hey Ed personal blog story. So in this blog entry, I'm going to be telling you about how I actually wrestled, full on wrestled, a professional sumo wrestler in Japan, in Tokyo. Okay, so now, how did I get to Japan? We'll leave that for another story. I want to keep these episodes short. For now, let's just say that I was an adventurous young man, and halfway through graduate school, I decided I was tired of being broke and poor, and I was burnt out from studying and working. So I just bought a one-way ticket to Japan, and that's it. I didn't know anybody. I didn't have a job lined up. I had 200 bucks in my pocket when I landed. Anyway, so my second day in Japan, I landed a job as the English instructor for Tokyo Toyopet. Now, Tokyo Toyopet is the largest car dealership in the world. They sell Toyotas for Toyota in Tokyo. And I quickly became pretty popular with my students. And one of the things the executives like to do is take me out drinking. Okay, but when they go out drinking, they go out to what's called the Ginza. Now, the Ginza in Tokyo is a very high-end, expensive part of Tokyo. And you get a lot of these little, very expensive little holes in the wall. They're like really small cafes, but they're not cafes, they're bars, right? But they're like private bars. And you go in, and it's very fancy, it's very small, but uh, it's kind of exclusive, right? This is a very expensive part of town. Anyway, so one night when we were there, and the executives at Tokyo Toyopet were plying me with with liquor, which is that I mean, the Japanese man, they love their whiskey. Personally, I hate whiskey. For me, it tastes like gasoline. But it was free, and I was a young man. So one night we were there, and in comes a sumo wrestler, the first one I had ever seen. By the way, if you ever get a chance to go to a sumo tournament in Japan, especially in Tokyo, go. I can tell you, it's an amazing experience. It's fascinating. You gotta go. If you're in Tokyo during sumo tournament season, try to make a point to go to a sumo tournament. Anyway, so these guys were whispering among, hey, that's so and so, and he was a pretty famous uh, professional sumo wrestler. So I said, let's go over and meet him. Now, part of it was just, the brash young American, right? Not afraid to approach people. And part of it is I'm just a gregarious kind of guy, and I'm young, so I didn't have any real inhibitions. So I said, let's go. And they were like, no, 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 no. So I got up and I walked over to the sumo wrestler. He was sitting down having his drinks. And I said hello. And then I had one of my students come over with me so he can translate. And we're talking. I said, I'm a really big fan. Now, I didn't know who he was, but I said, I'm a really big fan. And if you ever come to America, I would love to show you around. And this guy was eating it. He thought it was hilarious that this young American kid would just walk up to him and in the bar in Ginza start chatting with him. And so I started asking him questions. I said, all those things you do with the slapping of the hands and the stomping of the feet, why do you do that? And he loved that question. So he started telling me about how each movement and each clapping of the hands and throwing of it's a very ritualized sport. Everything has a meaning. So it's kind of an intricate procedure before they start each match, before they actually start fighting. The stomping of the feet, it's kind of like a choreography. So he said, would you like to learn the opening dances, the opening stuff? I said, absolutely. So right there in the middle of the bar, everyone gathered around us, watching this. They couldn't believe what they're seeing. this sumo wrestler is teaching me, and I can still do it today. How to stomp the legs and how to slap the hands, and he taught me all of that, and he taught me how to yell. It was absolutely hilarious. So he said, "So do you want to fight?" I said, I said, "Yeah." Said, "Okay, so this is what we do. When we get down and we each touch our fists to the floor, then we run together and we try to push each other out of the ring." And I said, "Okay." So there I am. So I get down. I We touch our fists to the floor. I run at him full speed, and I try to bump him with my. What does he do? He just stands there. He grabs me with his right arm. I mean, I'm sure he would have wrapped it around me if he could have, because they're so big. He just grabbed me with one arm, and he just kind of threw me around like this, like a rag doll. Right? I'm laughing the entire time. The entire bar is in hysterics, and God, I wish I had a picture, or better yet, a video of that night. It was one of the funniest things that ever happened to me, and and so then he throws me to the ground, but he doesn't really throw me. He like puts me down, gently on the floor, and then he does this, and and he helped me up, and I went back to his. So I went to his table with his entourage and a couple of my students, and we talked some more about stuff. It was an, I mean, look, I became for among my English club students at Tokyo Toyopet, I was a hero. And at the Tokyo Toyopet organization, I became like a legend. Every time I went, people walking down the hallway who hadn't met me before, they knew who I was because I was the only American there. They would bow, they had such respect or awe that someone would have the nerve to do what I did. Uh, so Now I did go to a sumo tournament after that event, and I saw him wrestle. He lost that match, but apparently a 160-pound kid from Minnesota he can handle. Okay, so that's today's blog entry. In the next entry, I'm going to be talking about how I rode a wild moose in Canada. Okay, Edward Anderson saying goodbye for now.